Welcome everyone to our live stream on coping with emotions. So my name is Peter Nguyen. I'm a family consultant along with my colleagues, Karen Flores Rojas. She's also a family consultant. We are so happy that you joined us for this live stream webinar. We hope that you have a good Wellness Wednesday. Some of us like to call this a Wellness Wednesday. So hopefully you have a good morning and hopefully you will enjoy the webinar from what we share with you. Um, Next slide, please. And now Karen will go over some housekeeping item before we begin.
Thank you, Peter. Again, I want to reiterate that we are very grateful that you're spending your morning with us and learning about coping with emotions of caregiving. Just a few housekeeping items. Since this is a live stream, Peter and I will not have access to any questions that you may post or comments that you may make. However, we still want you guys and ladies to make any questions, comments, put those on the chat or on online on the post. We will be able to see your questions and comments after the live stream concludes. We also understand that things may come up, so if you're unable to stay with us for the entire presentation, please note that this live stream is being recorded and will be available online at a later date. Next slide, please. And now Peter's going to
Thank you,
go
Karen.
over who we are.
Thanks, Karen. So yes, so we're gonna talk a little bit about our agencies so that you know who we are, especially for those that this is the first time you see our name. So we are Caregiver Resource Center of Orange County, CRC OC, a trusted partner for Orange County families coping with physical, emotional, and financial responsibilities of caregiving. Next slide. We have been established since 1988, a nonprofit of St. Jude Medical Center, and we are a part of the 11 center in the California Caregiver Resource Center system. Basically, in our state, California, from North California all the way to San Diego to the south, they are a total of 11 centers like us, and we are a part of that. We are funded by the Federal Older Americans Act and Family Caregiver Support Program. Next slide. Our main mission and goal is hopefully through our services, we can help to increase the quality of life of caregivers by helping families and communities to master the challenges of caregiving. Next slide. The eligibility to become our client is very simple. As you see on the screen here, first, the caregiver, the family caregiver, and the care recipient must reside in Orange County. The caregivers as defined by an adult 18 years and older, either caring for either a person under age 60 with an adult onset cognitive brain impairment or traumatic brain injury. If the care recipient is over age 60, then the criteria for the care recipient would be a chronic illness that impair their activities of daily living, that would require the support of the family caregivers. And when we mention activities of daily living, we talk about the very basic activities. For example, eating, walking, bathing, changing clothing, toileting, things that we all can do, but because of illness, medical condition, the care recipient is no longer able to do it independently. Therefore, they need the help of the caregiver. So with these two criteria, then basically the person can become our client for services. Next slide. And on the screen, you see six different things here, kind of summarize what we do for family caregivers. The first thing I would like to mention, the most important thing is having that caregiver assessment and care planning. Oftentimes, caregivers may not have the support or know how to plan short term or long term. So we provide that service. And after we provide that service, we encourage the caregivers to maybe join a support group if they feel like they need that extra emotional support, by connecting with other caregivers who share similar experience or challenges. And along the same line with support group is we providing ongoing throughout the year educational workshops legal workshops. All the topics are focusing on caregiving issues, self-care. Again, the goal, similarly like support groups, is through education. We hope the caregivers can have like a better idea of how to manage their situation. Counseling would be, as a client with our agency, we can provide what we call in-house counseling through our own staff, with the idea that sometimes a person may need to talk to a therapist one-on-one to address issues relating to caregiving. Some people prefer support group, some people better with counseling one-on-one. And lastly is the respite assistant. When we have funding available through our programs, we can provide caregivers with a grant. The goal of the grant is to provide short-term respite care so that the caregiver has the opportunity to take a break from their daily caregiving duties and tasks. We all understand and agree that as a caregiver, sometimes it's very stressful and sometimes there are no real break. So by the support of the grant, we hope that the caregiver will have that opportunity. Next slide. Just a quick statistic on the screen here, and we don't want to bore you, but just an idea of what's going on in our country, our state, our county. Again, this is not the most current one. As you can see on the slide, is um, back in 2015, but I'm sure right now this number are much higher. So, for example, 43.5 million adult caregivers, which is 1 out of 4 between age 18 and 34. 34.2 million care for someone 50 plus years and older. 10 million are 1834 to 34, and 54% say that caregiving has impacted their job. 10% of caregivers are 75 plus. The average age is 49 years old. Average hours of care is about 24.4 a week, up to about 44.6 hours per week. 60% are identified as female or woman. 40% are identified as men or a male. Millennials, men and women are about the same. And 56% of caregivers work full time, on average 34.7 hours per week. Again, this number I believe that is much higher now than that as you see on the screen. Next slide. And lastly, we want to emphasize the importance of how stress can impact the caregiver's health. You can see here emotionally stress, and then it can lead to depression, which most caregivers identify 20 to 50% reporting depression as the most common diagnosis. As for me, working with family caregivers through many years, anxiety is also a big factor and also a common problem as well. May not be identified as a problem, but it is a underlying problem. And physically, the care receiver's health deteriorates. So sometimes the caregiver's health is also deteriorating because of the adding responsibilities, adding care. As the care receiver's nutritional intake diminishes, so does the caregiver as well. Caregivers have increased blood pressure, insulin levels, impaired immune system, and maybe at risk of cardiovascular disease. In summarize, basically, the caregiver's health can be compromised or at risk because of ongoing caregiving responsibilities and may never have a chance to take a break from caregiving. So with that, I will now transfer to Karen to now officially begin on our topic of the webinar, the live stream, coping with emotional caregiving.
Thank you, Peter. And we share that information with you not to startle you or to scare you, simply to share knowledge about the potential consequences that one can have when we don't address or recognize our emotional health. So, we are again really grateful that you're here with us. Typically, during this portion of the presentation, if we were doing this in person, we would ask our audience what are some of the emotions that they experience as caregivers. More often than not, what we hear are things like feeling sadness, anger, fear. Peter already mentioned anxiety, guilt, and even resentment, which we will be going over throughout this presentation. Next slide, please. So, the goal of this class is to help you find ways to manage all of these challenging emotions. And I also want to mention that This is a skill that we have to learn and practice in order to get really good at and maintain. None of us are born with this skill. So we also want to be really grateful with grace. We want to show ourselves some grace with that because it is a learned skill and it takes practice. Next slide, please. So we'll start off with feelings and emotions. Emotions and feelings happen both on a physiological and cognitive level. It's important for us to make this distinction because the body is one. Our emotional health is going to impact our physical health, and our physical health is going to impact our emotional health as well. By the end of this class, we hope that you'll learn new ways to cope with all of these challenging emotions. And we want you to think about emotions kind of like a check engine light in our car. We are the car. And so they serve as a guide and can help us to tell us what we might need as well. Therefore, they're going to be useful. These coping strategies are going to be useful so that we can take inventory or acknowledge our feelings as well. Next slide, please. Okay. And as I mentioned, emotions are essentially physical and cognitive reactions as well. So, what they are is essentially messages that we want to be mindful of and pay attention to. They are there for a reason. And although they can be extremely painful at times, our feelings are useful tools to help us understand what is happening to us and for giving us choices to make as well. And so we also don't want to think of emotions as feelings as either good or bad. They just are. They exist and they're trying to communicate something to us that we may be in need of as well. And the reason I mentioned it to take inventory of some of your feelings or emotions that you're experiencing is because if we avoid or pretend that things are going great in our caregiving role when we're actually really stressed or feeling very worried or resentment is brewing, as I mentioned, because the body is one, all of these emotions are going to stay with us. Here are some examples when we might take greater acknowledgement, or we might want to just take more inventory of what we're feeling and experiencing. You know, we're noticing that maybe we're withdrawing or isolating from our family and friends. That could be a sign of caregiver burnout. Also, if we notice any changes in sleeping patterns, that could also be a sign that we're approaching caregiver burnout. Maybe we're being a little bit more impatient or irritable, or things that didn't used to bother us that were everyday tasks may now be getting to us a little bit quicker. Um, Also, if there's a change in appetite, a drastic change in appetite, for example, maybe we skipped breakfast, you know, there's a lot going on in our day and we're not prioritizing nutrition. Um, an obvious one is exhaustion. Um, this is the obvious physical fatigue that we may experience. Something that we may not really notice is when we're getting sick. Stress also impacts our immune system. And so if there's high levels of stress, we may be getting sicker more often than not. And being sick also just impacts our day-to-day activities because we will be have less energy, maybe be more groggy, feel more tired and sleepy. So it's important to be mindful of some of these signs that may be telling us that we're approaching caregiver burnout. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we're going to be going over some of these emotions that are more common when we are in this caregiving role. Next slide, please. So we're going to start off with sadness. And thank you. On the next slide, we will basically just define what is sadness, which is feeling down, unhappy in response to grief, maybe feeling discouraged or disappointment. One may feel sad when we experience a great loss, whether it's of a loved one, a beloved pet, any type of loss. Also, changes in plans, even in your day to day activity. A loss can be minimal, but it can still have a great impact on our emotions. When there's a decline in health, whether it's for ourselves or for our loved one, sadness may creep in. And also when we experience anticipatory grief. And what is anticipatory grief? It is grief that occurs before death or another great loss. Rather than death alone, this type of grief includes many losses. Things like loss of a companion, changing roles in the family, fear of financial changes, and also, and I would say one of the more critical ones is loss of dreams of what could be, wishes that were left unfulfilled. Anticipatory grief can be similar to grief after death, but is also unique in many ways. Grief before death often involves more anger, more loss of emotional control, and atypical grief responses. This may also be related to the difficult place that anticipatory grief puts us in, because we're really in this limbo. We're in between this place. We are actively seeing our loved one dying before the physical loss of death occurs. And on the next slide, we're going to go over anxiety. And so, anxiety is defined as this intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. It can really come up when we're trying to juggle multiple different responsibilities or tasks. We may experience this if we start to question our ability to care for our loved one, um, or if we notice there's a lot of what ifs popping up into our minds, which can really happen when we're feeling uncertain about the future. And anxiety really thrives on this as well. So we want to be mindful of that also. Thank you. And now we'll move on to fear, which is an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger. And this part is important, whether it's real or imagined. We may have fear of making a mistake. We may have fear of something going wrong, fear of not being able to handle everything. And when fear sets in, because again, our bodies are one, our emotional health is going to impact our physical health. And fear is a great example of that, because when we're experiencing fear, our bodies will go into this natural, what you may have heard, fight or flight response, which means we're either going to try to argue or confront whatever is causing us fear, or feel reluctant to try to confront it and avoid it. Some physiological reactions to fear could be heart racing, sweaty palms, tension on your shoulders. And so when this happens, it's a great way for you to look at what's going on. My body's trying to tell me something. What's the emotion behind it? And now I'm going to pass it back to my colleague Peter so that he can continue with the emotion of guilt.
Thanks, Karen. So we have learned about fear, anxiety, sadness, and within depression, sadness, anticipatory grief. Now we will talk about guilt. Um, Next slide, please. Guilt is almost defined by many caregivers. I have worked with so many families that, for one, that I haven't heard from anybody that they say they don't feel guilty. So you see on the screen here, it can be defined as feeling responsible or regretful for a perceived offense, real or imaginary. Providing all the care all the time, having to be on 24/7, feeling that able to provide level of care, placement decisions. There's a long list of out, should, must. So this is some reasons, some explain why people are feeling guilty. Oftentimes nobody do anything wrong in a way, but it's just that feeling of guilt that cause family caregivers to feel that they haven't do enough, and then sometimes because of intense guilt feeling, that can lead to sometimes um, many days of sadness or eventually depression. Next slide. Anger. So anger is also a very common emotion as a family caregivers. A strong feeling of being upset or annoyed because of something wrong or bad. Acknowledge why you are angry, feeling unappreciated, feeling trapped, or difficult behaviors by the care recipient that the caregiver may not know how to manage or how to cope, and it keep happening every day. So which sometimes can cause anger. And oftentimes caregivers sometimes feel that they don't want to share that they're angry because maybe it's not appropriate to say that. Maybe they feel terrible after they feel angry about something. But it is a very common feeling as well, as most family caregivers are also experiencing. Resentment. This is another difficult feelings or emotions that many family caregivers are facing. Again, a complex multi-layer emotion that has been described as a mixture of disappointment, disgust, anger, and fear altogether. Feeling being the only caregiver, feeling there are no help. Think about the past relationship, triggers, unresolved problems, issues. Caregiving has taken over the person's life, changing their role, give up everything that they plan in retirement. So many things that contribute to the feeling of resentment. Again, a very difficult feeling that sometimes is hard to share with a friend, with a family member. It will be okay, I think, to share in support group to get that support, and then in therapy, of course, because a person sharing about resentment can put themselves in the place of being vulnerable. Therefore, talking about this sort of feeling needs a lot of support, a lot of non-judging approach for someone to be able to share this the feeling of resentment. So we have go over basically the common emotions that most caregivers are experiencing in their journey. So now we will learn about how to cope with that. I mean, we have kind of we don't hope that you feel sad and like kind of bring your mood down when we hear all that feelings. But again, like Karen mentioned, there are no right or wrong about emotions. It's just how we feel, and it's important that we acknowledge our feelings and our emotions. But hey, we're gonna talk about something fun now, something at least positive to bring our mood up by talking about our coping ability with the emotions.
Thank you, Peter. And so that question prior to this slide was, how do we cope with these emotions? And I am so glad that Peter also reiterated, they're neither right or wrong. So we can start off by reminding ourselves that emotions, they just are. Um, and learning about them and being able to identify is going to be very useful, hopefully, for all of you in the future, not only to communicate with others on how we're feeling, but to also honor those emotions that we are experiencing. And we'll start off with sadness. So it may sound really easy to do, but it's also very challenging to simply ask ourselves, what losses have I experienced? Because sadness often comes from grief as well. So each loss that you've had, again, great or what might seem minimal, deserves acknowledgement. And avoiding the feeling of sadness will only build up as well. So we may find ourselves at one point just kind of um, not blowing up, but in a way, just feeling so depleted and really just low energy, low mood, which may influence or contribute to then at some point feeling depressed. And so as Peter mentioned, share your sadness with others, whether it's through a support group. Um, we have found great success or good feedback from clients, caregivers who join a support group for the first time. And it's probably one of the more special moments because they for the first time might not be feeling alone in their journey, which can counter the feeling of sadness. And the goal isn't to get rid of sadness as well. I want to make sure that that's clear, because all of these emotions are really valuable in communicating with us what we are in need of. And so the goal isn't to get rid of like sadness, anger, resentment. It's simply to acknowledge, recognize, so that we can cope with these challenging emotions. Um, if maybe joining a group isn't where you're at, that's also okay. Calling a trusted friend to share how you're doing or how you're feeling may also be beneficial. If a group or calling a friend isn't also something that you're um, wanting to do yet, starting individual counseling or therapy with someone who has no idea who your family or friends are may also be a good starting point. And or you can do all three. There's no limit to how many strategies you can try. Next slide, please. So, coping with anxiety. Again, I want to mention it may sound really easy, but if we are not used to it, asking ourselves, what am I trying to control or manipulate with a situation? It's not going to come naturally. And so we really encourage you to ask yourself this, what am I afraid of something? What am I afraid of? Because anxiety arises out of fear. A strategy that you can try to comfort or reduce or cope with the feeling of anxiety is to verbally tell yourself, I am safe, I am okay right now. Giving yourself that reassurance will be beneficial. It took me a while to buy into breathing. And so, all of these strategies that we're sharing, try what you like, leave what you don't. That's also okay. You'll see what will work for you. We don't have a magic wand to just give everybody all of these coping strategies and that they find success with. So you'll have to see what will work for you as well. Um, but I want to go back to what I mentioned earlier, that because the body is one and we also have physical reactions to these emotions, breathing can be a really great way to regulate our bodies so that we can, come back to our baseline and then be able to figure out our next steps. Who can I call for additional support? Who can I share that I'm feeling anxious with? When we're trying to control or manipulate a situation, we could also think about possible alternatives. Is there a different solution that I can look forward to? Maybe I need to prioritize these tasks. I've heard a lot of caregivers share that they have a running list that feels never ending, they have to get through. And something that they have found beneficial is to just prioritize these tasks, accepting that they're not all going to get done today, this month, maybe even these next few months. So prioritizing has been helpful in navigating these responsibilities they have to get through. And also tapping into some of your more constructive behaviors, things that maybe you did in the past, drawing, listening to music, playing music, practicing other strategies like grounding techniques. We will go over later on in the presentation as well. Next slide, please. Coping with fear. Again, asking yourself, what am I afraid of? Consider what it is that is creating this fear. Again, I want to mention anxiety arises out of fear as well. We want to try and focus on the now. Also, naming our fear will help reduce the power we think it has over us. And acknowledging it is going to make it just let that less big, the fear. We also encourage you to limit your use of what if. And when you're catching yourself saying, okay, well, what if maybe you're talking to a friend and you're saying, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? When you're catching yourself doing that, it's okay to just pause, breathe, I'm encouraging you to accept, what is happening, what it is right now. This is what's going on. If you're able to plan ahead, will help not only with your anxiety, your feelings of anxiety, but also coping with the fear that may be being experienced. And again, breathing, using breathing techniques, even just breathing. Sometimes when fear goes up, as I mentioned, our bodies are going to go into this fight or flight mode. Our breathing is going to be impacted. When our breathing is impacted, if we're not getting enough oxygen into our brain, we're going to be not being able to like think clearly. We may have a tougher time making decisions. We may notice our indecisiveness increase. So it's really important to just pause, take a few deep breaths so that you can continue with your day and manage the fear that is being experienced. And Peter will go over some strategies with guilt.
Thanks, Karen. We talk about coping with sadness, anxiety, fear. Um, I really like meditation, or at least do things that just sit there and you don't think about stuff. It's free, obviously, and nowadays on YouTube you can utilize so many resources in terms of music, picture to guide your reading exercise. And I also have what called a blacklist kind of words that I don't want to use. So what if will be one of those. I want to bring it there because it usually brings bad things or bad thoughts that will lead to nothing than just more fear and intense fear or anxiety. But you don't hate your what if. Sometimes it just pop up. I think just acknowledge that and let it go. But I think good practice about that can help to reduce your anxiety and fear just by acknowledging your what if. Don't stop it and then move on. It is part of our life and thoughts. We don't want to hate anything, but at least for me, I try to put it on the blacklist of things. Um, so guilt would be the also one of those intense feeling that also very difficult to cope. Sometimes this is often received as a perceived failure of doing or not doing it all. And you can ask yourself a question like this: have I hurt anyone intentionally? Maybe. If not, maybe it's about regret. You can reframe that to regret. Feeling regret is different than guilt. There's a difference between appropriate guilt, something you do wrong, perhaps intentionally or perhaps accidentally, or inappropriate guilt. You didn't do anything wrong, but you feel somehow guilty about something you didn't do anything wrong. And as a therapist myself, in the manual to diagnose depression, inappropriate guilt is a symptom, not the other one. Meaning that if someone keep feeling inappropriate guilt for a long time, perhaps that can lead to depression. So some idea would be lower standards from ideal to real, understand the reality. Again, asking those questions to bring you to the reality test. Think about all you are doing, then the thing that perhaps you can't do or not doing, right? And have realistic expectations, or change up your perception or thoughts or view can be ways to help to reduce or maybe address the inappropriate guilt. Another difficult emotion to cope would be anger. Same thing, ask yourself, why am I angry? Do I feel undervalued? What do I have control of? What changes can I make? I think before, when you feel angry, before you start any conversation with anybody, either whether your loved one or family members or somebody, I would say, like I say, here, step back, take a deep breath, or maybe meditate deep breath, and you feel like your mood is at balance, like you feel that your anger is somehow already at least in control. Then we can have a conversation. But until then, I would say don't talk to nobody because I don't think that it's going to be a productive or kind of well intentioned conversation when we are angry and talk. Um, I haven't seen that happen, so I don't suggest you try that when you're angry and try to talk to someone. I would say really learn to or practice a way that you can feel calm and that you feel that your mood is more regulated or more in control. Then we can have a conversation about whatever problems that might be. You can review the facts of the situation that can help sometimes bring down the angry. And all the ideas would be forgive yourself, be kind to yourself, right? Sometimes we are very harsh on ourselves and not giving ourselves the credit or sometimes the just the grace Take time off, count to 10. That would be a way to regulate your mood. Breathe before responding. Healthy ways to release. If you someone like to punch a pillow, or someone like to go out to the beach or park, somewhere empty that they can just really scream, really loud. That can be a way to just release it all out. Or sometimes people just want to cry. That also a way to kind of release the anger as well. Again, just healthy way that you can do to release your anger than unhealthy. Coping with resentment. Have I done too much? What is my own limit of how much I am willing to do? Naming this emotion to a trusted confidant. Like I mentioned, when we talk about different emotion, this emotion is very complex. People can judge you if you share to someone that maybe not understanding what you're going through, and then that won't lead to anything positive. So knowing someone that you can talk to, like say, just trusted confident, meaning someone you can trust. Again, perhaps counseling, perhaps support groups would be the platform to talk about this sort of emotions. Think about your option. Acknowledge your life has been compromised. So these are the idea that's saying that accept certain things, and then maybe through acceptance of those certain things, then understand what you can take back or what you can stop, so that it won't increase the stress level, and hopefully it won't increase the feeling of resentment. But this again, I know we just talked for a few minutes about all this very difficult emotion and how you can cope, but it's just some idea that hopefully you can try. And I think when you start the self check by asking all that question. The goal is basically bring yourself back to the reality, and test yourself and check yourself what is going on. All that question can be very helpful. And then you kind of realizing, okay, this is the answer. And then really seeing, okay, this is maybe not true, this is maybe true. And from there learn different tips, different way to manage the emotion that you are feeling. And like and again, I just basically went ahead of myself, reframe how we think about our emotion, right? You ask questions, you validate your emotion. Don't hate your emotion. Just accept, validate your emotions. I feel angry. I feel upset. I feel resentful. I feel anxious. And then have compassion for yourself. I think just basic step like this can at least help you realizing, okay, I'm a human being. I have these things. I have challenges. Therefore, I have these difficult emotions. However, I would learn to take care of myself and have compassion for myself before I do anything else. Now, Karen will go over more ideas of how we can do what we can do to take care of ourselves as family caregivers.
Thank you, Peter. And we wanted to highlight some things on this slide as well. And for me, it's going to be the word amplified. So many of the emotions we feel as caregivers are amplified. They're felt greater, more intensely, especially when we are stretched too thin, overwhelmed, and are not taking care of ourselves. Therefore, here at the Caregiver Resource Center, Orange County, we have this mantra: caregiving includes caring for me. And when we work with caregivers and we bring this up, sometimes the emotional reaction can feel really intense as well, because it's one of the first times that they're hearing, hey, you matter, your feelings are valid, your self care is also important. Most of the times, when I would say majority of the time, when we are caring for a loved one, a lot of the focus is on our loved one, because they might need greater care. Their needs are prioritized, rightfully so. We also don't want to lose ourselves in that journey. Our self care, our own health, both physical and mental, are also really important. Next slide, please. And so, how does this look like? Just like when you are on a plane, they mention put your mask on before helping someone else with theirs, because your own care is critical in being able to be present for other folks and being able to effectively support and assist them. And I want to emphasize this is not selfish. It is self care, it is self preservation as well. Now, let's take a further look at what all of this means. So, um, the caregiving journey is an ongoing journey, and all of these skills and strategies that you're learning about will hopefully help you find some balance because balance is really the key to managing your emotions versus the emotions managing you. As we've been mentioning, showing yourself some grace is also going to be important um, because, after we conclude this presentation, at least I, with all these skills that I'm learning, I'm not going to be perfect the first time I try them. My confidence with these skills is going to build up over time. The more I try them and the more effective I am with using some of these strategies, then I will notice my confidence increase. And the next time resentment, sadness, frustration, or fear come up, I'm going to be better equipped with managing them. And Peter will be going over, so how do we find balance?
Thanks, Karen. Balance would be my favorite word, so I would put that on the good list. But at the same time, it's a good concept and theory. I think we all can understand. I'm sure we all heard of balance of life and between personal and work. Well, we talking about we will talk about caregiving and balance and how do we do that. Next slide. So we think perhaps the first step is understanding your feelings and emotions. Realize that in your emotions can tell you how you are doing. It's true. If you are feeling depressed or sadness for one day and then it's over by the next day, probably it's common. I would feel the same from time to time. But if you feel depressed or sadness for consecutive days for more than a week and it doesn't seem to stop, it seems to get worse, maybe 2 weeks in a row, and you realize you're functioning, the things that you do every day, usually okay, now are no longer okay. Those are again ideas that telling you through emotions that something is not right, something is that need to be a concern here, right, or addressed. So again, it can be a guide that you find your way along your caregiving path to help you find solution or to help you find some way to deal with the emotions. All emotions are able to be managed or cope. I think the important thing is we recognize and don't let it become a problem or impact our daily life. Of course, we don't want to guess. And again, I mentioned about what if, and the reason why we put that on the blacklist is because it's guessing. And today is March the 8th. We don't know what is tomorrow or even the next hour really really like. And if we're guessing, we will basically feeling anxious, feeling fearful perhaps, and that doesn't help us. And when we feel anxious, I don't know about you, but I don't function well. I can't think, I can't focus. I maybe just very easily get upset because someone might say something because I'm anxious. And then that won't help me with my daily task or function, right? So we want to learn not to speculate, reduce speculation, or don't even speculate if you can. But again, I encourage if that happens, just acknowledge it and let it go. I don't want people to feel that you have to hate yourself. Why are this thing keep coming up and it just doesn't stop? That's just how our brain, our thoughts are function. I wish there's a way to can stop the brain from thinking. I wish then we have a magical solution. Um, and create reasonable, don't create unreasonable expectations that are not based on the reality of the situation can be leading to speculation. Again, come back to the idea that having reasonable expectations of what is going on and don't try to have anything unreasonable. Determine what you can control versus what you can't control. So on the slide you see a list of things here like attitude, thoughts, action, choices, commitment, goals, who I spend time with. These are the things that you can control. And anything about us, we can control. Anything about any other human beings, we cannot control, and we have to accept that. But I think sometimes we maybe in the moment, because of stress, because of anxiety, perhaps, then we think we try to control certain things, and sometimes that just make it more difficult, because it just won't work right. Again, we can always control how we feel, what we say, our thoughts, our action, who we spend time with, what is our goal. Those are all can be controlled by us, our own goal, our own action. But when we talk about your loved one or anybody else, that's just going to be a different kind of, I think, approach. Because if we ever try to control others, then I think just by that alone, we already run into problems. I love this one because the basics. Why do I love this? Because I myself don't do this consistently, and we think this is easy. Drink water, eat regularly or healthy, everything in moderation, active exercise, try to sleep if you can, play, and enjoy what you do and who you spend time with. This is very basic. And I can dig up research to show that doing the basics can increase all kind of good stuff, good mental health, good physical health, reduce all kind of illness, because it's true. But I think, like I share, I myself have a sometimes challenge with this consistency with the basic. But sometimes is a reminder about, okay, did I even have breakfast today? When was the last time I had something to eat or drink? I think those reminder, like we do a self check in the beginning of the live stream, can be just very basic, good coping strategies to remind ourselves, okay, let me get some water before I even have any conversation about anything. Maybe I should eat something right now. I'm hungry. Or sleep when you can, take nap when you can. I know sleep disturbance is one of the most very common problem for many caregivers. So when you have a moment, you want to sleep and catch up with your sleep. But again, what I'm saying is the basics is all free here. Nothing is you don't have to pay anything for this kind of practice, but it's going to be good outcome for your health, mentally and also physically as well. So, well, each body is different. So what's important is what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So Karen will now go over that.
Thank you, Peter. And as I mentioned earlier as well, throughout the presentation, you'll see maybe, okay, I can try that technique. Seems like it might be helpful for me. Or, no, I'm not ready for that one. I'm going to put that on the at the end of my list. So, no, learning what will work for you takes practice. So, getting to this, I know what is beneficial for me, takes time. You may join a support group and hear somebody else try a different technique that maybe we didn't go over, or we didn't get to share. And you're thinking to yourself, that sounds like something that I can try and implement. Um, Give it a shot. See what will work for you and what won't as well. And I know we keep talking about some strategies that sound basic or simple, um, but these are often the ones that we tend to forget. And they are usually, more often than not, the most important ones as well. Next slide, please. And I'm probably sounding like a broken record talking about breathing. And I will be transparent as well. When I first started trying this technique out, I didn't really buy into it. I didn't believe that the simple task of breathing would help regulate the emotions that I was experiencing. At first, I was very hesitant to try this technique out. I didn't see the quick results that I wanted. I didn't see my anxiety significantly decrease. So it took me a minute to build a better relationship and a healthier relationship with breathing as well. And something that um, might work for you folks that are listening and hearing us is uh, your traditional, what we hear, counting to 10. We can start out with simply doing that. And counting to 10 doesn't just look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to be with breathing. So we're going to breathe in 1, to really taking your time with it. Then we can go to another technique while still implementing breathing, like box breathing. We vision a box with four corners, right? So we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold our breath for 4 seconds, release for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds. And the way we can learn about more breathing strategies as well is a simple Google search. Types of breathing, effective breathing for anxiety. The web can be a great source to learning and tapping into different strategies as well. And the reason we also really emphasize breathing is because, again, I go back to, our bodies being one, physical health impacts mental health, vice versa. Emotions are essentially a physiological response as well to an external stimuli, an external stressor. And so breathing is a helpful tool and strategy to help regulate um, our bodies and bring us back to our baseline as well. And Peter mentioned he's a great fan of mindfulness, and so he's going to go over that a little bit more.
Thanks, Karen. So breathing is free. We all know that, and we all can breathe, right? But there are so many way and technique and practice. I sometimes call that level. But like we mentioned about earlier for the subject is what works for you. So if you don't like to do deep breathing, you can do just breathing. But the whole focus is really this word right here is being mindful, and even intentional. Like Karen demonstrated the counting. Basically, you are intentionally breathing and you count. It's purposeful. It's not naturally. We don't do it naturally in that way. But the idea is when you do it purposeful and intentional, you're being mindful. And what magical about being mindful is we don't actually feel anxious or depressed. We just feel we are in the moment, or even happy, or even feel like zen kind of feeling. So it's a specific meditation technique based on being aware of what is happening without clinging to it, pushing it away, or getting confused about its nature. This is by Sharon Salzberg. And I share, but keep saying this and from throughout the live stream is throughout the breathing or meditation, thoughts will keep coming to you. You look at the river on the picture. Yes, imagine thoughts are like leaf or whatever on the river. You acknowledge the thought and you let it go. You don't have to hate it or like it. Just knowing, oh, it's coming. Okay, let's go. Then back to your practice again. And again, I shared in the beginning, right now we live in a day that's so much resource in terms of media. You can either on TikTok or YouTube, Google guided meditation. There's so much to use, and that can be your voice when you close your eyes and do the practice. Because sometimes some people they need that guide and do it by themselves. You can do it by themselves, perfect. If you don't, if you need help with guided, there are resource for that. So again, I can't emphasize enough on being mindful and try to uh, try to be in the moment the best you can because it works. And I don't make this up. This is not my opinion. I can dig research and it will tell you it works. And it's just about how we practice them in our everyday life. So next slide, please. So meditation, this is of course a form of breathing. You can, for some ideas, sit or lie comfortably. You close your eyes or open your eyes. Simply just breathe. You focus on your breathing purposefully and intentionally. Stay in the moment, stay present. Perhaps think about good event or pleasant events or memories. You don't have to. I think I like the idea of just being blank. But again, if you want to think or have doubts, think about good things. Oftentimes, our mind, we don't think about good things or good memories. The trauma, the sadness, the thing that happened to us not in a good way keep coming, right? Or the worries, things that haven't happening yet. Sometimes we don't think about the things that happened to us that in a good way. But again, if you have to think about stuff, perhaps choose the event that pleasant or happy or memories that bring you joy. If you like to write, here's some idea of what you can do to write. You can just text your journal, your thought, write it out on a notebook, doodle it, bullet point it, email it to someone or yourself, write a paragraph, write a poem. Again, many ways that you can write. there's no one specific way, essay or paragraph. Many ways you can do it. Nowadays, thanks to social media, you can use the app as your platform to even save your journal. Again, text or just enter things in the app that you can save so you can read them later. Just many options nowadays that you can do journaling. Again, another form of mindfulness activity, because when you're writing, you writing. You don't necessarily think about things. You just let your thoughts out on the paper or on whatever platform you are using. Realize you can ask for help. What help do you need and who can help you? And sometimes this question or this realization also can be a challenge, because I think as people or human beings, we want to be self sufficient, independent. And the thinking of asking for help sometimes can be just like a barrier. We're thinking, oh, we bother someone. We're thinking, why do I have to ask for help? Why am I not able to do certain things? But again, sometimes we have to realize and accept certain things that we need help. We can do everything. I'm a short guy. I cannot just try to risk myself falling by reaching up to a, 10 feet bookshelf. I have to ask for help. Someone taller can help me with that. Or I need help carry stuff to the door. Too heavy. I have to ask for it. I can't just force it and injure myself, right? But sometimes I know this is easier said than done. But it's for each one of us to realize and come to certain acceptance about, okay, what is my limitation? When do I need for help? And I hope it's not too late. Sometimes people wait, it's way too late, and sometimes it's maybe more problem than not. Again, think about what kind of help do you need? Who can help you? Be specific can be a very helpful thing when you reaching out to someone or when you know what you need. For example, let's take a minute and think about, for example, oh, I need help with washing dishes. Maybe my sister can help me with that. Maybe I need help to take out the garbage trash can for the day, and maybe my neighbor, can help me with that. It's very simple daily things that we can reach out and ask for help. But the example he's showing you the specific task, and also who you asking for specifically. Because sometimes people thinking, oh, I need help, but they can't define what, who or who. But then that can be maybe a little bit troublesome, right? So try to really knowing what exactly do I need or who I can ask for help would be ideal. And now we're circling back to relaxation again. More idea for you to learn how to relax or practice relaxation would be meditative breathing, stretch, listen to music, gardening, play with your pets, dog, recite positive affirmations. Again, all these techniques are focusing on mindfulness. If you like to share your feelings and thoughts and experience, support group is a great way, a great platform for that. People often share that they feel that after they do a group, they reduce of feeling stress, connect with other caregivers, reduce feelings of isolation, reduce anger and depression, and develop new coping mechanisms. And most importantly, they feel that they are not alone. And this is the most important, I think, thought that people share is they feel that they are not on this thing alone. There are people either similar like them, or sometimes subjectively people feeling, oh wow, I thought I'm worse, but that person's even in a bad shape than me. So it's just those feeling of support and empathy is very important that people find that in support group setting. And by the way, if you do a support group, you don't have to share. You don't, if you're not a talker, you can just listen and be present. I know I say that, for those that like to share, sure. But you don't want to share, but you want to connect with others, you can join a group and just basically be present. And you see the nice, beautiful, colorful card on the screen here. Karen, now we talk about this. More self-care idea.
Thank you, Peter. And again, we want to reiterate taking time for yourself is not being selfish. It is self care, it is self preservation. Asking for help, as Peter was mentioning, can also bring up other feelings, right? We may feel like we failed at the task we were trying to accomplish. However, asking for help is also a skill that requires practice in order to get really good at and then You have to keep doing it in order to maintain that technique and strategy. And something else that I want to mention is that your family and friends, really anyone, just people in general, we are not mind readers. Peter was sharing his example of having to ask for help, reaching certain things, taking things, from point A to point B. For those of you that don't know, I actually share um, a wall with Peter, and so we sit right next to each other. And I'm not a mind reader, so if he doesn't tell me that he needs this extra support or assistance, I'm not gonna know. And so we have to be okay with reaching to others for support, asking for this assistance, and accepting that we would benefit from a little bit of extra help. And I also want to mention accepting something, whether it's a situation, an event that occurred, these feelings and emotions that we're talking about. Accepting doesn't mean that we agree with what's going on or what we're experiencing. It's simply recognition and acknowledgement of what is happening. And another, I know you saw that beautiful little image of just way more examples to take a break. Um, I have a lot of folks who, and even myself, I put this in a place where I can refer to it on a more daily basis. The fridge, um, a mirror near the exit door. That way, if I need a little bit of help with some ideas, I can just reference to it, see what I like, what I want to try out today, and give it a shot, give it a try. Um, Something else that we can also try, which sounds pretty basic, but again takes a lot of work, is loving ourselves. So thank you. On the next slide, we'll see how this part is also really important and key in being able to do our best, be available and present for folks. Loving ourselves can include feeling really confident and in control of our feelings and our responses, not our reactions. Sometimes emotions can be really great that we may respond with irritability, um, arguing, which is not really our best self. And so we want to, again, take a step back, breathe so that we can respond instead of react. Acknowledgement that we are enough, even telling yourself, we mentioned affirmations in front of a mirror, telling yourself, talking to yourself, reminding yourself, reassuring yourself that you are enough, you are worthy of so many great things, and including the love that you have for yourself. Um, Something else you could try is to let go of past beliefs that no longer serve you. And I'm a big believer of affirmations as well, simply telling ourselves that letting this go that no longer serves me, I forgive myself. And more important, I am learning to love myself more every day in different ways. So I encourage all of you to try it if you haven't. Um, these reminders on how to love yourself a little bit more. The next one is going to be on gratitude. So sometimes when we find ourselves with these really great and challenging emotions, we tend to just kind of naturally gravitate to what's going wrong, what's not working out, what's causing maybe more frustration or annoyance, whether it's people, places, things. We want to try to shift that and focus on what is working well in our lives, what's going great. Practicing gratitude, acknowledgement of the positives in our life, whether that's with family, maybe we have a really strong faith, um, friends, quality over quantity. Our circle may be small, but I know that the folks in my life are going to be able to come through when I need their extra support or assistance. Also, for some of us in our caregiving role, maybe family and friends do offer a short term respite at times, and this can be an opportunity for me to go contribute my skills or my time at another um, agency or organization or place that brings me joy and taps into those other more pleasant feelings. Um, we also have our own voice, and we can be really grateful for being able to vocalize our needs, being able to speak up when we need that extra support. um, a day to day having access to fresh water is also something we can remind ourselves and feel really grateful for, is that we are able to, it's one of the basic things we can do is drink water, but also having access to water is something that we're very privileged to have as well. Same thing for clean air. And when you get a good night's sleep, that's, a win is a win. That's a success. If it's one day out of the entire week, we hit gold being able to get a good night's rest so that we can tackle the next day. Next slide, please. And I absolutely love laughter. I think it's one of the great um, uh, skills or tools or strategies, just activity we can do on a day to day to offer us, a little bit of relief from what's going on with our emotions, with life in general. And studies have actually shown that laughter can alleviate depression by half, by 50%. That's pretty. I would say that's a large percentage. Also, can alleviate confusion by 36%, anger by 19%, fatigue by 15, and tension by 9%. And laughter or your sense of humor can be different, from person one to person two. So even with laughter, find what makes you giggle, find what makes you laugh, find what's your type of humor, and then tap into those things, whether it's, as Peter mentioned, watching a funny video on YouTube or a movie that really makes you laugh. Maybe you have a short window of time to be able to do that, and um, it can be a great tool for you to utilize. And as you can see on the screen, there's a lot of benefits to laughter as well. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about just some additional ideas. And again, these are going to take time, um, and they will take continuous practice. Being aware of your unique triggers and what coping skills help you. You can do this, through talking to a friend, through individual therapy, through your own list of, okay, I tried this coping skill. Yes, it worked. It's going on my list of toolbox to pull out when I need to. Or no, it didn't work. I'm going to put this on the shelf for now and maybe revisit at a later time when I want to try it again. Um, Meditation is really great to calm and quiet the body and the mind, to really listen for what it is that you need. When we practice meditation, Peter mentioned he just kind of likes to have, a blank, like no thoughts. For some folks, during that time when they're having no thoughts, maybe a random um, thought does come into their mind. And if we tap into it a little bit or even listen to that thought, it could be trying to tell us something that, our emotions are and our feelings are trying to communicate with us. Something else that you can try is using effective communication strategies such as I statements or I language instead of you language. And so this is going to look like when you want to share with others, maybe um, in your caregiving situation, it's a whole family unit that's assisting a loved one. Maybe you guys are rotating shifts for respite, or you have a certain routine for your loved one where you're all contributing. And maybe on one occasion, somebody didn't do their part, or something happened and it really evoked some of those other feelings of anger, frustration, maybe resentment. And we want to be able to get to a place where we can communicate this with our family members. And you may find success by doing so with communication through I statements or I language instead of you. So we don't want to tell the person, you did this, and that's why I'm upset. Because if I'm receiving that message, I may be defensive. I'm being told I did something wrong. And naturally, we want to counter that. And so instead, what we can do is say, as an example, I feel or I felt discouraged when I texted the family chat and nobody responded because I really needed some help with dad. In the future, please let me know if you're busy so that I can plan accordingly. So we're not trying to attack the person, but we do want to let them know, hey, what you did caused this type of emotion for me and it put me in this position. Um, can we try something else in the future? And so you want to focus on I feel when, because next time in the future. Um, and even as I mentioned, using the web as another tool, right? You can Google examples of I statements, examples of I language to get a little bit more information. But I really like this one too because it's it's us being able to communicate our needs, our emotions with others without essentially attacking them or letting them know what they did wrong, like the you language, as I mentioned. Um, Next slide, please. Some of you watching the live stream today may not be caregivers, or you may not be the direct primary caregiver, but you're still supporting in a way. So if you know a caregiver, you can be a really great tool and source as well, and support. And you can do this by helping them to learn stress reduction strategies and techniques. So, taking what you learned from this live stream and sharing it with the caregiver you know. As I mentioned, grounding techniques. So, we want to use this one when we're feeling a little bit more anxious or stressed. And grounding basically wants to take us back to the moment, the now. Right. So grounding can look like use. It's going to be using our senses. So we want to, identify 5 things we can look at, 4 things we can hear, 4 things we can touch. Excuse me. 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste. So you can do it in the comfort of your own home. You can do this even without folks noticing that you're doing it if you need to practice out in public. So, same thing, you can Google grounding techniques and strategies. Um, we can't really go into a lot of depth with some of these tools because there's just so many. But I really encourage you to, if you heard one that you want more information on, doing a quick Google search, giving us a call. Do you have any class coming up, regarding this strategy or any uh, resources you can provide me? Also share, your provide positive affirmations to the caregiver um, and share it with them. Let them know the positive feedback. You're doing a really great job. I'm really impressed with the way you care for your loved one. Um, and when they are venting or sharing with you, maybe you're the person that they're sharing the emotion of resentment with. Be a non judgmental listener. You can also clarify. Hey, I notice you're venting. Do you just want to share right now, or do you need support looking for a solution with what you're sharing? That will let you know, based on what they tell you, yeah, I need support coming up with a solution. I need help problem solving. Or no, I just need an ear. I just need a vent. I'm not looking for a solution. I just want to talk. So that can be a great way for you as the person who's providing that support to be more effective with the way you are assisting this individual or this caregiver. Next slide, please. Um, and you're already, if you're here, you know a caregiver, and you yourself don't identify as a primary caregiver, you're already one step ahead. You're finding out about different resources or um, tools out in the community. So share with the caregiver, the support groups available. Give them the schedule if you like. Um, if you are a caregiver to some extent, maybe not the primary, but you are coordinating care in another way, you can offer to go to the support group with them if they feel a little bit hesitant to attend by themselves. Um, you can be the person to take initiative to ask, hey, is there anything on your to-do list or I need help list that I can take on to assist you with? And maybe groceries or running an errand. And so the simply ask can be very beneficial for the caregiver in your life. And also going back to laughter, smiling, sharing a funny meme with them, being their bright spot may offer a sense of hope, or may evoke some feelings of joy or other more pleasant emotions that maybe they haven't felt in a while, because caregiving just takes a big toll. And so I'm going to pass it on to Peter to finish us off.
So we Thanks, Karen. We want to share with you this quote by former First Lady Rosalind Carter. There are four kinds of people in this world: those who have been caregivers, those who currently are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. This is our kind of favorite quote because it's all kind of true. And with this quote, we want to let you know that the live stream has to come to an end. I know we started a bit late, and I know that we went over time as well. We appreciate your time that you're still staying with us. We hope that the information has been very informative and hope and supportive to your situation. So we want to show you our slides of contact so that if you need to contact us, then you can call our phone number on the screen. There's a website, classes website. Like I shared in the beginning, we host and offer ongoing educational workshop classes focusing on caregiving issues, topics, long-term, short-term planning, self-care, things like that. So please feel free to contact us if you want more information or you have any question about what we do. Again, it's been my pleasure. I think we enjoy sharing with you so much that we keep talking. We don't look at the time, the clock. But again, we appreciate your time and participation. Karen, any last thoughts?
Thank you again. I know your time is critical and your time is valuable. And Peter and I are extremely grateful that you spent this time with us, and then some. So, again, thank you so much for joining us today.